1.5, correct?
For tonight.
For tonight. 1.6, that the development will provide for adequate solid and sewage waste disposal. I motion that the standard of 1.6 is met.
I will second that.
Discussion.
What was the plan for waste removal?
There is no waste, there is no removal. Was the plan originally correct, Mr. Diffin?
I'm pretty sure Abby said she was gonna put trash cans there.
Yeah, and the on-site operation staff will remove it as needed. But no generation on-site, just for refuse from people's cars and for wrapping.
Okay, so the use does not create trash besides people and waste from their cars. And then the applicant is providing trash cans at, I think they were like underneath the canopy
Correct, at the bus shelter.
of the shelter, people shelter.
And that was at the request of the board, because
Was
we
it
weren't
there?
gonna have anything originally.
Correct. So I still stand on the fact that the standard of 1.6 is met. And you seconded?
I did.
Discussion, further discussion. Does everyone vote on whether 1.6 is met? All those in favor? We have 5 in favor. 1.7 will not cause an unreasonable burden on the ability of a municipality to dispose of solid waste and sewage if municipal services are to be utilized. I motion that standard 1.7 is met and not applicable.
I will second that.
Discussion. Anyone? Hearing no discussion, can we take a vote? All those in favor? And we have 5 in favor, none opposed. 1.8, development will not have an undue adverse effect on the scenic or natural beauty of the area, aesthetics, historic sites, significant wildlife habitat identified by the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, or rare and irreplaceable natural areas, or any public rights for physical or visual access to the shoreline. I motion that standard 1.8 is met.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? No discussion. Take a vote. All those in favor of 1.8 is met, please raise your hand. We have a 5-0 vote. Carly. 1.9 is in conformance, with a duly adopted subdivision regulation or ordinance, comprehensive plan, development plan, or land use plan, if any. In making this determination, the planning board may interpret these ordinances and plans. So it's not a subdivision, motion of the standard of 1.9 is met. Somebody second it.
I'll second it.
Discussion. It's not a subdivision, right? Our comprehensive plan is very old and being reviewed right now.
Unless
The
you
new
think
one.
of each parking spot's a lot. That's a bad attempt that you were.
You're tired.
You go now. I am too.
So the land use plan this refers to, is this the land use ordinance it's referring to?
I'm not sure, actually. The development plan or land use plan. If any, I don't think we have a development plan or land use plan. I think that all of that stuff is kind of within the comprehensive plan, which is at the moment like 16 years old. Our current one is
No, I
old
know.
and the new one is
Well,
in the works of being reviewed, so I'm not so sure we should use those as,
the only reason I ask this is because
yeah.
I don't feel that this is an allowed use in the land use ordinance. I don't see it listed as a principal use or even accessory use. So, is this the place to, this paragraph, the place to bring this up? Or is there another place
I'm not sure.
under this Article 1?
I can tell you that I spoke directly to Town Attorney Sally Daggett about that very question. The parking lot and storage area was applied approved back in, did you say it was 93?
98.
98, in 98, as a parking lot and storage area. I believe Ms. Daggett looked into it, and when I asked her that question, is it a use? She said it is an approved, is an existing and therefore an approved use.
For the 221 parking spots and the existing area.
We do not have standards on how many parking spots you can have and cannot have.
Well, why are they even before us then?
What?
I mean, why are they even, if they can expand their parking lot, then why are they even before us?
Because it's required when you expand anything that you come
Okay.
before the board.
Okay, so, we've since passed, since 1998, we passed, and added to our ordinance that if it's, the words are not included, you know, the allowed uses are not included in the ordinance, then it's not allowed, right? We've added that, what, in 2015, or 2018 or something. So that was prior, because that's after 98, when this was approved before.
Mm-hmm. Right? So, a parking lot is an accessory use in the land use table.
But this isn't, you know, associated with drinking or with coffin or, you know, an auto body place or grocery store. This is a commercial lot. That's what this is. This is not, this is the primary use, is a commercial parking lot. And looking at the ordinance, I've looked all through it. I can't find where that is in allowed use, a commercial parking lot. And on top of that, of course, is it's ancillary to Bath Iron Works, which is not within the town of West Bath and not within our jurisdiction, certainly.
Jerry, you have that application like really right there, right? Can I
Yes.
see it for a second, do you mind? Thank you. So, development of parking lot / laydown area as documentation indicates.
And I don't see where any place in the ordinance, a laydown area is permitted.
There is a storage area in the ordinance. So it could have, I mean, this was back in 98, it could have been interpreted that the parking lot is an accessory to the storage area.
We don't know.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
Chairman, maybe you could pass on this and ask the applicant to submit through council an opinion letter why this, and with the history of, it sounds like there's some ancient history here about the prior parking lot.
there is.
And get that in the record, and then that can be considered when you consider the traffic issue when it comes back.
We can do that. And Mr. Diffin had a comment, and so did
Either of us.
Hey, George.
Ms. Bolduc.
Yes. If you turn to page 27 of the land use ordinance, you'll see that under other principal uses for the business commercial district, I believe, is open lot storage or sale of junk or salvage material. So I believe that is the permitted use here. Then if you turn to the next page on 28, under accessory uses, you have parking for allowed uses.
Right, and that's what I was thinking.
And you-
When we did some research, it looked like that was probably how it was done back in 98, I don't remember.
So just to be clear, this, I'm sorry, just, we're not proposing a change of use on this already approved use on the property. This property was permitted back there with this use. We're not changing that use. So in our opinion, there's no change of use to have to prove or to evaluate. And it sounds like the town attorney is already
Waiting on.
waiting on
She has, I did ask her, she weighed in on it. Our town attorney did say that it's an existing permitted use, so it is allowed.
So it says for sale of junk or salvage material.
It's
Right.
open lot storage or sale of junk or salvage material. So one of the uses is open lot storage.
Yeah, it's not and or. So I think it comes down to whether we trust the judgment of our town attorney. So Sally Daggett, who I did specifically ask that question
So,
when I saw her at the workshop, and that was her answer.
So she said what they're proposing here is a permitted use in our ordinance.
She said that the lot is an existing permitted use, therefore it is permitted, not permitted, allowed. That's what she said.
So the interesting part is the principal use, I would agree, open lot storage, right? That's what they're doing, open lot storage.
Yep.
But the accessory, right? Which one was it?
Number 8 under I, accessory use is parking for allowed uses.
Right, but the parking is not accessory to the storage of the material.
Oh, that's right.
But the use of the property
Is
is
accessory.
already allowed. So you're arguing about, well, I
The use
guess,
was previously permitted.
Correct.
Just because we did something wrong once doesn't mean we have to do it
It's
again.
grandfathered though.
For the spaces that are there, but doesn't mean you can expand, keep
Use.
expanding.
the use
The
is,
use
it's not a specific number of spaces,
this,
which I believe the town
the
attorney
way
again.
this, and
Why don't we get the applicant to give a chronology and a position paper on that, and you can have a little more time to digest that.
Can I just ask for a point of clarification? Is the code enforcement officer involved in the determination of use and allowed use?
so the way the process goes is that the applications go into the town. The clerk is the point of contact and liaison for the planning board, receives them. If the applicants want to speak to the code enforcement officer, they are available. We do not discuss anything with an applicant until we show up here. We will grab the plans, take a look at them, see something really obviously missing that would prevent the applicant from being able to be before the board, then we comment on it. So,
Many, I think it is a correct legal position that the code officer interprets the zoning ordinance and subject to review by the Board of Appeals. The code officer could be wrong and somebody could, or allegedly wrong, and they could take an appeal to the Board of Appeals. And so it's not uncommon in this situation to defer to, or at least solicit the input from the code officer on whether something is permitted use. And you could have a letter from the code officer talking about that previous permit. I think that would help your record to have that, rather than I'm not saying it was off the cuff discussion with the town attorney, but I think it'd be more substantial if we had a memo, email, or something to that effect from the code enforcement office. I think it's a good idea.
okay, so you're gonna add that to our request for future?
Yeah, but maybe somebody could tell the, do you want me to talk to the code officer about that, or do you want?
I am not allowed to talk to the code enforcement officer.
Okay,
It has to go through Carly.
okay, Carly can talk.
I will
I'll
talk to the code
Carly if you
officer.
talk to the code
I have spoken with the code officer and the town attorney and can confirm that they have both agreed that it is an allowable use. But
Okay.
obviously I'll
So what we need
make
is
sure that they get the
in an
letters.
email, it doesn't have
Of
to be
course.
anything super complicated.
Yeah, and I hadn't had that relayed to me, so that's why I couldn't answer you.
Very well, thank you.
Okay.
But there is a motion on the floor.
Right, there's a motion on the floor for 1.9 that the standard is met. So, either vote, remove, or amend.
You could, somebody could withdraw the motion and say that we'll address that when we get the information back from the code enforcement officer.
So we don't act on 1.9 at all.
Right, I mean, I know the applicant wants as many of these knocked down as possible, but it might be safer to just get
Okay.
that.
All right, so I will withdraw my motion for 1.9 that the standard is met until code enforcement, the clerk can confer with the code enforcement officer and town attorney about the validity of the use.
So you're amending your motion? To say
Yes.
that. We'll need a second or that. understand what her amendment was,
Yeah.
that you're postponing move to postpone the decision on 1.9 until we receive information back from the code officer confirming the validity of the use.
Okay, so you're gonna second discussion. A vote then, with no discussion? All those in favor of waiting? Actually, you know what, Carly, I'm gonna take my vote back. I'm a no.
Okay.
Because I trust the communication that was made. And I don't think we need to make it again.
I would actually like to do the same, Carly, thank you.
I don't know why I stuck my hand up.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Well, I mean, okay.
No?
I mean, the vote was a vote, I mean, you got this, but anyway.
Right, and then go to the parking lot and change them, like what,
What?
that's what I'm asking, like
Yeah,
what,
right,
right?
no, I mean, there was a vote, you know, and you could make a motion.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying, like, when we leave, right, can we change our vote?
No, I mean, I'm just trying to be.
Yeah, as a point of order, you would need to call for a,
Reconsideration. So somebody's on the.
Point of order, I call for reconsideration of the vote, so we can revote.
Does anybody support the reconsideration?
I will second that.
All right, then a motion's been made and seconded to reconsider that vote. All in favor of the reconsideration? The reconsideration fails.
No, is that a hand or is that not a hand? Is that a hand or a pen?
Can you explain to me what's going on right now?
Oh, sorry.
So we voted, and I decided I didn't really want to vote in the affirmative for 1.9.
So technically,
So I tried
like
to
the
take it
door
back.
slammed.
So he's saying that we have to like take back that vote now by rescinding it. So we're voting now to rescind the vote and vote again, or not.
It's allowing Darlene and I to amend our vote.
To
Or re-
vote in the negative on that, when they voted in the positive the first.
Right, so just, we're voting to vote if they wanna vote again, we're gonna vote again.
Okay.
I mean, and the reason is true. I mean, you couldn't like 45 minutes later and get on the phone with everybody and say, let's like re-vote. I mean, so once there's a vote.
No, I would never do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you're voting on whether to reconsider.
All those in favor of reconsidering the vote? So 3
Okay.
reconsidering the
All
vote,
right.
4.
everyone got their
Okay.
hands up.
Yeah,
Oh,
everyone.
Jim did too? Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't see it.
Reconsider, okay. And reconsider 5. Now you're gonna vote again on whether to refer this matter to the code enforcement officer. That you're gonna postpone decision on this until you've received confirmation that this is a permitted use by the code enforcement officer. That was the gist of the prior
Yeah,
motion, so
counsel,
you're
right.
re-voting. Now you got your second shot.
Okay,
And your general counsel, didn't you include that in your motion?
I don't
Yes.
remember that,
yeah.
but, okay,
Do you want me to restate the motion?
yes.
Motion to,
Can I make a comment before you do that? We've got counsel right here, I know he's not, can we just ask him if it's an allowed use or not? And we know what John has said, right? I believe Carly said it was permitted use, that John said that. We have
Right.
counsel right here, couldn't he
Yeah.
review this right now and say if it's a
I'd
permitted?
like to think about it.
Okay. That's all I'm saying.
I mean,
I'm trying to keep it.
It's such an important decision, I wanna.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
okay, so motion to hold on voting on 1.9 until code enforcement officer and town attorney can be consulted to verify that the use is permitted on that property. Is that about all of what I said before?
Yeah.
So somebody's gonna second it.
Second.
Any discussion?
Who's gonna consult with Carly?
Yes, Carl, the only person
Okay,
able, the liaison,
Okay.
clerk,
she'll report back next time.
and we'll report back next time.
We have to vote, right?
We have to vote. We seconded, correct? All in favor?
Okay.
3 in favor, opposed. 2 opposed. The ayes have it. 1.10, the developer has adequate financial and technical capacity to meet the standards of this section. I move the standard is met for 1.10.
Second.
Any discussion? It is section B in the book from Atlantic Federal Credit Union. Having no discussion, all those in favor? No opposed. 1.10 is passed. 1.11, whenever situated in whole or in part within the watershed of any pond or lake or 200 feet of any wetland, great pond, river, as defined in Title 38, MRSA Chapter 3, Subchapter 1, Article 2-B, or within 250 feet of tidal waters, will not adversely, will not adversely affect the quality of that body of water unreasonable affect the shoreline of that body of water. So it's not near a great pond, it's not near a river, it's not near a lake. It is 250 feet from a wetland. It's not 250 feet of tidal water, so it is within 250 feet of a wetland. I motion that the standard is met for 1.11. Sorry,
Sorry, I'll second that.
discussion?
I would have to say paving 8 acres within 250 feet of a wetland would have an adverse effect on the wetland.
Is it 8 new acres? Mr. Diffin, how many new acres is it?
Somewhere around 6, I believe. It's 9.4 to 3.67, so a little less than 6. And it's certainly better than the landfill that was there before it was closed.
When the DEP reviews for that type of thing, they look at that?
We have the NRPA for impacts adjacent to a wetland. And they
We
have
have
no
that.
concerns.
It's this second one right here. Yep, it's the added one. Can't find out a lot of it. It's the added one we got. I would think based on the NRPA and the fact that DEP has reviewed it, that
The NRPA permit is just a disturbance within the wetland. It's nothing to do with like impacts long-term to the wetland. That's just simply disturbance within the adjacent to the wetland.
The PBR we have is for activities adjacent to the wetlands. We're within 20, or we're within 75 feet, I believe, of the stream. There's no other review required for putting parking where we're putting it through DEP because there's no concern about impacts to wetlands. There's no wetland impacts associated with parking. If there were, there'd be no parking anywhere in the state of Maine adjacent to wetlands.
true. Okay, other concerns, comments?
But if I understand it, the concern is that with all the stormwater runoff into this wetland, that will affect the wetland.
I'm taking all the oil from the parking lot and all that. Will have an adverse effect. That's what it says. It has, I think it says it adverse effect. Will not adversely affect the quality of that body of water. You can't tell me that paving 8 acres and parking a bunch of cars beside it and storing a bunch of materials is not gonna have an effect on the wetland, an adverse effect. I'm sorry.
Well, the DEP who oversees that doesn't think so.
Well, they should be here, you know.
They have an acceptance, I mean, there's a letter that says.
That's just a PBR, that's just a permit by rule.
But it's actually sent back and approved by the DEP.
But that's nothing to do with, it doesn't say, I think it's, read that.
They have to review the plan to approve it.
Has,
As part of the application, they have to submit the plan of what they're proposing to the DEP, and the DEP would provide comments based on that plan. And if they thought that if they thought that the impact did not meet the requirements of section 2 adjacent to natural resources, there would
but
not
what
be.
did it say when they, can you read the activity? I don't have mine.
Section 2, activities adjacent to protected
No,
natural
with
resources.
the applicant wrote.
That's not the applicant, it's DEP. notes say 3/16/2023, parking expansion adjacent to stream. Stormwater will be reviewed by BRWM over a landfill, require narrative for proximity to the 25-foot buffer, and then they responded again on 4/5/2023, narrative provided. And below it says accepted by DEP. Anna Smith is a DEP employee.
So this entire package went to the DEP,
The
the
entire package
stormwater,
went to the
everything,
stormwater,
all these
reviewed it-
plans.
Reviewed it with the Land Bureau for wetland impacts.
So they've seen everything.
And that's how we ended up with the PBR and going through that process.
So the Solid Waste Bureau reviewed your plan for this whole
They
plan?
reviewed it with the Land Bureau who regulates wetlands
Yep. And issues NERPA permits. the land
for
use.
required permits for impacts that are actually, they define as impacting the wetlands. And so to add on to that, we consulted with Inland Fish and Wildlife, Maine Natural Areas, Maine Historic, and they said there's no objection to this project.
Ms. Waldeck, do you have a comment?
I'm okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion
I think I said it.
and a second.
Was I-
Yeah, you second, Bruce. Does anyone have comment or question on
So,
one?
yeah,
one
so
line?
this is for the stream and the wetland, the 250?
There is
This is the stream here.
that is for activities adjacent to the stream,
Okay.
within 75 feet, but outside of 25 feet.
Okay.
So, Dan, I got a question for you. If you did not increase the parking lot, right? If you did not increase the parking lot to the near the stream, you wouldn't even needed that, correct?
We wouldn't have needed that permit, that's correct.
Correct. So like what Jamie's saying is looking at this, that they approved it. They approved the PBR to work adjacent to the stream. They didn't approve anything to do with the parking lot.
No, that's false.
That's not true. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna,
Go ahead.
I'm not gonna, I won't speak on your behalf.
The Bureau of, whatever the acronym was, the BRWM, reviewed this project with the Land Bureau. We have email records of their conversations back and forth, impacts related to natural resources. The only required permit for this project, as it relates to impacts to natural resources, the wetlands, was for the activity adjacent to that stream. They reviewed the whole project and had no objection to the rest of it.
And to close the loop on your question to me, I do not feel that going against the regulatory authority is appropriate action.
Right, but if they weren't within 75 feet of that stream, they wouldn't even need that permit.
That's fine. It does not matter. The regulatory authority is the state of Maine Department of Environmental Protection. They submitted the permits that they were required to submit it, and it's been accepted by DEP. So for me to say that DEP's findings are incorrect and do not meet their standards is not what I'm going to comment on. I'm saying that this was approved by DEP.
Okay, I'm just going by our ordinance. It says adversely affect the water body. That's what I'm going by.
Well,
Read
again,
that.
adversely is a subjective word,
Exactly.
and I
So we
think
could labor it all
that,
night or just vote?
I'm sorry, can I?
Sure.
And I think that it's inappropriate for us to be saying that the DEP doesn't know what they're doing. I really do, you know,
I don't think we're saying that. I think what we're saying is that, you know, under 1.11, you know, it stands alone, you know, and the question is, will it adversely affect the adjoining wetland? We're not, it doesn't say anything about the DEP shall approve or not approve and so forth. That's another separate action that the DEP took with that permit by rule.
The permit by rule should address its natural resources, which includes wetlands and streams. So if the DEP reviewed and then issued the permit by rule, they considered the effect that this proposed parking lot would have on the wetlands and the stream. If the wetlands are not referenced in it, it's because they decided that the wetlands would not be affected and they did not need to issue a permit by rule for those wetlands.
And for consideration, it would be a recommendation of mine for the board to consider the impacts of holding this project to a standard above and beyond the requirements that are in place with the regulatory authorities for wetlands and impacts. If you do this to this project, you have to do it to every project. So just for consideration, and I apologize for opining.
okay.
That was 1.1.
1.11.
Wait, I'm sorry, 1.1, I checked it off, I should not have checked it off. 1.11. All right, seeing none, are we ready for a vote?
So
Okay.
we're voting on
Yep, it's on 2
this
pages.
exact, yeah, but like,
Yes,
this is what we're voting on.
yes. So, yeah, so we're supposed to vote on each one of these individually.
Yeah, no, I got that, but I mean, like, these words for this ordinance is what we're, like, does this,
Does the application meet that requirement?
okay.
There's lots of stipulations in there about Great Pond and everything, it's
No,
not.
I know,
yeah.
it's just about the body of water.
Right, because it's within so many feet of a wetland, and that's why that one does apply instead of an NA. Okay? Anything else? Okay, please, let's have a vote, on the standard of 1.11 is met. All those in favor? Okay, opposed? You have to vote.
No.
Sorry. Do you have more questions that would help you, or?
No, I guess I vote that it, so this is like, DEP is for the state.
Yep, DEP.
The proof we've provided to show no adverse impact is the review that we went through with all of the regulatory agencies that oversee natural resources. So we provided the permitting, we provided the consultation with the different inland fish, main natural areas, main historic. If the town is asking us to do something above and beyond consulting with the state agencies that know what natural resources are and how they should be protected, I'm not sure how we offer that proof.
Yeah.
Your exact words here, when you go back on YouTube, was there's a loophole in the solid waste, you didn't need to go through site plan review for the DEP. That was your words, loophole. And so like, to me, like you told us one night you're exploiting the loophole. And to me, let me finish,
Sure,
please.
sorry.
And to me, you're adversely affecting that wetland through that loophole.
Can I respond to
Yeah, and
the terminology?
And I think it was this, I remember that conversation, we were talking about the SLOTA, the site location and development application, not checking for stormwater was the exact question, and I think I was the one that asked it even.
Yeah, that was in response to whether a SLOTA license was required for this
Right.
project. So I apologize if I use the word loophole. We have followed the required review practices through the correct regulatory agencies, including for stormwater quantity and proving that there's no negative impacts to on-site or off-site properties from this project. We've gone through, again, all the natural resource agencies that we're required to go through. So we've done everything we're supposed to do when it comes to DEP, when it comes to these different agencies. And if the town is asking us to hire a wetlands expert other than DEP to prove whether or not there's impacts here, that's a precedent that's gonna have to apply to every project. And certainly something that's above and beyond what's required in the ordinance, in our opinion.
So, I think that every project that we have that involves 475 parking spaces, we can, we can consider things other than what the DEP has, and land use, commission and so forth. This is, what we're saying in 1.11 is very straightforward. It says, will not adversely affect the quality of that body of water, or unreasonably, there we go again, unreasonable affect the shoreline of the body of water. So the question is, these parking spots and the storage area, adversely affect the water
In
quality in that
terms of
wetland.
looking down the road, if there was a court case about this, what the court would be trying to figure out was whether there was substantial evidence on the record supporting the board's decision. And substantial evidence can't be speculation or conjecture, it has to be, it doesn't mean you have to satisfy a burden of proof of 51% when you're in court, but you've gotta produce something other than, it must affect the wetland, I mean.
No, you just hit it on the head for me.
Yeah,
'Cause
like there's a spill or something.
Yeah, like, oh, there was a spill 5 years ago and that was proof,
Yeah.
or, you know, something like that.
Yeah, I guess that's my
And
problem.
I think it comes down to Gabe's vote right now to review where we are.
Yeah, and I think you just hit it on the head, because I feel like it's not been met, but the governing body seems to think that it has been, and I feel like, I don't understand or believe that they could say that, but like, that's my problem with their ruling, it's not with what they've done, so I have to, I guess, vote with it passing, because they've gone by what they needed to do with the DEP and all these regulation agencies, even though I don't know how those agencies can say what they said. And no offense to anybody, it's just, so, I vote that it passes.
Right, so is that all right?
Then you have to vote.
Okay.
3 to
Even
2.
though it was a little delayed, it's,
Yeah.
okay, so that's a 3 to 2 and a affirmative that 1.11 means, okay. Mr. Parkinson, it's almost 10 o'clock. What are the rules on a continuation of this?
The board can, sometimes boards have a 10 o'clock rule, 9 o'clock rule, but you can vote to adjourn this meeting until the meeting, and, you know, 10 o'clock is kind of the norm now. I mean, in fact, others are, I'm on one that's 8:30, starts at 6, and the 6:30 is, and 8:30 is the limit.
We have an unwritten 8:30 rule.
Right, yeah.
It'll be agreed upon, it's not written down anywhere,
But, yeah, I'm on a commission, 2 hours is,
but, okay,
brain gets fried.
all right.
I think we could get through most of these.
Yeah,
They
Maybe
refer to
the last.
subdivision and so forth.
so,
But then we have to do division, we have to do section 13 also.
Yeah.
There's another
So we're
whole
probably not gonna
section of
finish,
this.
but
So, okay, let's keep going and.
should we
Where
vote
we at?
with 10 o'clock we're done?
No, I think we can keep going and then we'll think about it in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Is that okay?
All right, that's fine.
All right, so 1.12. Will not alone or in conjunction with existing activities adversely affect the quality or quantity of groundwater. Groundwater, I'm assuming they're talking about well water down in the ground, which is probably 100, 200 feet down. So I motion the standard of 1.12 is met.
Second.
I think it's met because we're not digging into the ground. You can't dig into the ground anyway because you've got the cap on top of the landfill. There's really no intrusion into groundwater.
There's also a clay liner.
There's a clay, yeah, there's a clay liner, it's cleared off. That was why I agreed that it is met. Further discussion? Okay, be good.
Yeah, I'm just guessing it's all included in the stuff that they've already.
Groundwater is different. This is like stormwater, so the rainwater that's gonna go across the top.
Yeah.
Groundwater is down in the
Yeah, it's all
wells and
protected
subsurface.
though, so like,
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion? All right, let's have a vote. All in favor that standard is met for 1.12. You've got 5, Charlie. 1.13, if the subdivision or site plan, or any part of either subdivision or site plan, based on the Federal Emergency Management Agency flood boundary and floodway map, so FEMA, and flood insurance rate maps and information presented by the applicant is in a flood-prone area, the subdivider or developer shall determine the 100-year flood elevation and flood hazard boundaries within the subdivision or site plan. The proposed subdivision plan or site plan must include a condition of plan approval required that principal structures in the subdivision or site plan will be constructed with the lowest floor, including the basement, at least 1 foot above the 100-year flood elevation. I will say that this standard is met. The motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Diffin, there isn't a floodplain out there. It's not
No,
a
there's no map
floodplain
in
at
the
all.
floodplain. No, the landfill would be,
Okay. So since it's nowhere near a floodplain, I would say that this just does not apply. Questions, comments? Go to a vote.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I second it.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, so vote whether the standard for 1.13 is met. All those in favor? We've got 5. 1.14, all freshwater wetlands within the proposed subdivision or site plan have been identified on any map submitted as part of the application regardless of the size of the wetlands. Any mapping of freshwater wetlands may be done with the help of the local soil and water conservation district. I move the standard of 1.14 is met.
I'll second.
The wetlands are clearly on this plan, so I would contend that is met.
Also required as part of the application.
And also required as part of the NEPR application. Thank you. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a vote on if the standard is met for 1.14. All in favor? We have 5. 1.15, any river, stream, or brook has been identified or any map submitted as part of the application. For purposes of this section, river, stream, or brook has the same meaning as in Title 38 MRSA, Section 48-B, subsection 9. There is not a river, motion that the standard of 1.15 is met.
Second.
I don't believe that there is a river, stream, or brook that goes through there. There's a ditch.
so there is the
There is a
stream
identified
that we have the NFPA permit for.
Oh, yeah, it's in the corner, right?
Here,
The
it's
very,
not, it's
very
not for the
corner.
property, it's in the corner.
Gotcha. Sorry, there is one over there. It has been identified on the map
And it's been identified in the comments from DEP as well.
and on the
And the
comments from
approval.
DEP. Any other comments, discussion? Take a vote. The standard of 1.15 is met. All those in favor? We got 5 in favor. Someone looking for me. Okay, so 1.16, will provide for adequate stormwater management. I motion the standard of 1.16 is met.
I will second.
Discussion.
This goes back to the model, pretty simple, it goes back to the model of what you guys plug in for the value of the landfill, right? Like if that was a standard field, like a farmer's field, it would be, you'd have to put retention basins in, would that be correct? Danny? Or Dan?
If that was an undeveloped property and we were putting parking in there.
It was a
yes.
farmer's field, say.
It depends on the level of impact and what we would need to do downstream,
Like I understand, like in the model, you guys put in the value for a landfill, which is the same as pavement. To me, like that's not correct. I know DEP bought it, to me, that's not correct.
Yeah, I mean, that's their rule, that's how they
Yeah.
require us to renew, they didn't buy it, that's the regulations.
Yeah, I spoke to a geologist today, and he actually used to work at your firm, and he said what happens is the waste management, they review the permit, right, and then they send it over to the regular DEP, and like, it's just a big generalization, like an overview. That's what he told me. And that's where the whole, if it was a farmer's field, you'd be putting retention basins and everything like that. And goes back to the loophole that we're utilizing for the landfill. So to me, it's not bad. That's all I have to say.
Another thing to consider is that these lots are certainly gonna be, there's gonna be sand spread on them and so forth, in the winter time. And cars are gonna drag, sand and sanding materials onto the parking lots. And that has to go somewhere. It's gonna wash off the lots. So I do think that even though the DEP doesn't necessarily require it, I don't think the stormwater has been cared for properly without retention ponds of some type. We talked earlier that the center of this larger lot on the bottom of the plan, from the center towards the road, that's gonna go towards the road. And we've talked about the rest of it going into that area between the storage area and the parking. And we've talked in the past about how that drainage for the water that goes on the right-hand side of the plan or the northeast side of the plan, how that's become siltated. So there has been some prior issues with silt. I know much of that silt may have come from the roadway. However, that is state road, but.
You look at the American Steel, there's a clay field, and there's a retention basin there, and that's a lot smaller than this whole thing here. And there's a retention basin there. And this is probably, I don't know how many times larger this is, and there's not even one retention basin. That, to me, that's just because someone plugged the value in for the landfill, and that's what went through. And I think,
Are you saying that they should have plugged in the value for a field instead of a landfill? And done the calculations that way when it's actually a landfill?
well, I think it goes back to what Daniel said, it was a loophole. This is a loophole.
Well,
It's not a loophole.
So anyway, we'll provide, I'm a no on, let's just vote, like we could sit here and argue all night.
okay, I don't wanna argue, I wanna hear everybody's thoughts on it.
So stormwater management was also done for this new laydown area with all this stuff.
Yeah, that footprint hasn't changed this entire time.
I know the footprint hasn't changed, but what goes there has changed. Like now it's gonna be all these other materials.
Well, it's gonna be the Connex boxes, it's gonna be the construction materials, there's gonna be soils that if they're there, they have to be placed on top of a tarp and covered up so that they're not washing off. There is an operations and maintenance requirement for DEP as part of their review for this specific parking lot, where we actually have to do snow removal after a certain period and clean sand after winter is over. So that's all covered under the DEP permitting process. So we've submitted this application to the right permitting authority based on what's out there, gone through their process. We've provided a stormwater management report with our stamps. It's not mine, but it's my partners, saying that this project is not anticipated to result in an increase in runoff or impacts to the wetlands on-site or downstream. So personal feelings on what's going to happen aside, again, we feel like we've gone through the appropriate review process with the experts in the state for this type of development.
To me, this comes down to common sense. You've got American Steel, they've got a retention basin, they've developed probably not even 8% of what we get proposed, and now we're proposing something much larger, and there's not one retention basin. It's just common sense. They're utilizing a loophole to not have to do this, because they can't do this on the site because it's a landfill. That's what it boils down to.
It's sheeted here, they have
Yeah,
a flat roof.
that's not the question. The question is about stormwater treatment, and I can't speak for DEP, but when it comes to where you put parking lots, where's a better place to put them than on top of a landfill that can't be used for other development instead of in a farm field? And so the solid waste rules reflect what has been
Right, and the
long term.
solid waste rules regulate the landfill. They
And
don't regulate the wetlands and the water
And
bodies
require
inside.
stormwater management, and we had to go through a review with the land bureau, as we're going to talk about. So I mean, we've gone through the regulatory review agencies we have to go through for this project and met their requirements.
I guess I would speak, again, as a professional engineer myself, I would speak to say that if I was to approach this project myself, I would be designing it within the regulatory requirements, which are, DEP and, solid waste, as Dan has already mentioned. And, if I was to put my own stamp on the front of this document stating that everything in here is correct, I would be having to follow the code of ethics of the professional engineer. So to question somebody else without an independent review, I don't think is appropriate.
I'm just going by common sense, that's all.
I'm going by professional, how we practice.
Right, there's a book in your table when you go through.
Okay,
I'm not gonna argue.
alright, we don't wanna argue. We've talked about the DEP over and over again about how they shouldn't have allowed all of this. Can we, and I disagree, but, can we have a vote, or is there more questions and comment?
So there's no stormwater management, that's the consensus?
For this project,
Yeah.
stormwater management is just to get the water to flow through the site. There's no detention, there's no treatment required.
Right, there's different ways of stormwater management. Basically, it's leaving the pavement and going across the grass very slowly for quite a while before it hits the wetlands. So all of the winter sand that you're talking about is gonna end up at the very edge of the pavement in the grass, and it's gonna just build up more soil. It's not like it's water running off there really fast and it's gonna make it to the wetland. So that's really the stormwater management. It's not necessary to have basins and things like that when you're looking at it, is what you've done here. It doesn't mean that there isn't any stormwater management, it means that there isn't a pond.
Correct.
Unless you have flat roof.
We went through review of the stormwater management for this site with the DEP. So they've reviewed our stormwater management and approved it.
Which is just that it flows off.
Any other questions, comments? Can we vote on whether standard is met for 1.16, please? All those in favor, raise your hand. Got 3 opposed.
Oh, wait.
Three.
Three in favor.
Three in
In
favor.
favor, yeah, no, I said three, and I meant those, sorry. 3 in favor, those opposed, please raise your hand. It's almost 10, so.
Doing great.
All right, it is 2 minutes to 10. So after we finish this section 1, we also have to go to Article 3. Correct?
We don't have Article 3 on here. Do you have anything in there, Carmen?
Article
13, sorry, not 3, 13.
30 is right. We don't have it either.
No, that's not right either.
So
Yeah, 13, which is on page 115.
We don't have that.
You say we are you, and there's copies at the back of the room.
Oh, that's right, I got this one.
I think there's 2 different copies.
We're looking at another 9 pages
Yep.
in Article 13.
Plenty of time.
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn and postpone at 10 o'clock.
Interesting.
And then set up another meeting at another time, which the clerk will need to do.
Was the adjournment, sorry. I don't know.
Am I doing that right? Okay, do we need to add anything else?
No, maybe it would be better to get the date and adjourn to a date certain,
Okay,
a certain date,
do you have a date?
date certain.
You're the board, not Thursday.
Clearly.
What's everyone's schedule look like next week? You
Next
have
Thursday.
Monday or Tuesday. The town office is closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so by rule, we do not have meetings on days when the office is closed.
Which day is Carly?
So we can do Friday, Monday, Tuesday, or then you're into the last week of November.
Are you talking about this Friday? Which Friday are you talking about? You just said Friday, I don't know which one you mean.
Right. So this Friday would be the soonest that you could meet,
So the 17th,
the 20th, the 21st, 27th, 28th, 30th.
Mr. Parkinson?
It was a while about the Friday one, but,
I would ask also not to do it on
Yeah,
Friday.
Friday's not a good idea. Friday, I think we can agree is out,
That's right.
yes?
There is a town that represents meets as a planning board on Friday nights,
Right.
7-5.
So that leaves the 20th, the 21st,
Sure,
the
sure.
27th, or the 28th, which are Mondays and Tuesdays.
Oh, the 27th, I'm supposed to be in Greenville.
Okay, so then we're down to the 20th, the 21st, or the 28th. Anyone have issues with any of those days?
I prefer a Tuesday, but
Prefer a Tuesday,
I would request the 28th over the 21st.
okay? So the 28th is a Tuesday.
Okay.
Does that work for everybody? 28th,
Same time, 6.
yes. I think 6 still is good, right, guys? We're all working until 5:30, so. So I'll amend my motion to add the date of November 28th at 6 o'clock, where we will restart with 1.17 in Article 1 of the land use ordinance. Wait, is that in the development review? I'm sorry, in the development review.
Could I ask, and maybe it's not the time, but if Diane is able to come to that meeting to talk further about traffic, would that help the discussion on the 1.5?
What does the board feel about Mr. Morbillo coming back?
That'd be fine with me, I'm just one person. Sure.
I think
Absolutely.
the more information, the better, right?
You have voted to hire an independent professional.
True.
That you could change your mind on that.
Right, do you also want to hire an independent individual?
That's what we voted on,
Did
right?
you?
Yeah, you voted.
Yeah, we voted on it, so you want to do both? This is the board,
I think that would be up to the applicant to see if they want to spend the money on, like, Diane.
Could it be possible to understand the costs by the 28th and also have a conversation with Diane about your specific concerns and what options after that?
yes, that would be up to the board liaison to set up through the town.
I would just say, just from my experience, Thanksgiving week is really hard to get a hold of anybody and
Right.
and to get an engineer
then
to
begins the
get a
holidays.
scope of.
Oh, you're not calling out engineers, that's your problem.
I mean, so maybe you could get somebody to give you a ballpark, but I think that's about.
I respect Diane, she's the best in the business.
Yeah,
If you want to have her there, she can be here, and I'll pay for her to come there.
all right, so we have not adjourned yet.
So they're gonna have Diane come, that doesn't mean you have, you're rescinding or withdrawing your vote
Right.
to have an independent professional.
Right, is the board okay with Diane coming at the meeting?
Yes.
The applicant can bring anybody they want, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, technically kind of the presentation is over, but, I mean, you can be liberal about that.
I would hate for her to show up and then the board decide that she was not allowed to speak because
Right.
we have decided to hire a third-party traffic
You wanna-
engineer.
Do you want to
No
vote?
matter what.
So,
You want us to vote on that then?
sure.
Well, but we still have a motion on the floor that hasn't been seconded, so.
About
Did we second
postponing the
that?
meeting to
the
the.
28th.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, I think
Okay.
everybody agreed, but yeah, so the motion is it's 10 o'clock to postpone the meeting until the 28th at 6 o'clock, that's the right date. 28th of November at 6 o'clock.
Second.
He's seconding that. All those in favor?
Quick discussion, does that that adjourns the meeting entirely and that does
No.
not address the other, it just adjourns this particular discussion.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, then you can go back to Diane's question. Once you vote on this, because there's a pending motion, might as well get that taken care of.
Yes. Okay, so seconded, all those in favor? We're all in favor of that. And then the second thing,
Now, do you think it would be worthwhile to have Diane come? And I imagine that would be a fairly lengthy discussion, maybe not, but it's up to you. I mean, what do you
Right.
want? They've offered to bring her, of course, at her expense, for their,
Yeah, if I could clarify the question,
if she's available.
well, yeah, if the board, no matter what Diane says, feels that an independent review is necessary, it doesn't make sense to have Diane come to that meeting. But if the board is willing to revisit 1.5 with some more input and explanation from Diane.
We already voted on that. We already voted on that.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
gonna make something contingent, you know, on her coming or not. I guess it's up to you. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we'd welcome, you know, any input from you. If you want to have her come, I'm fine with that, and I vote in the affirmative on a motion on that.
Yeah.
But that's your call, what you want to do.
we've already voted to have the independent review.
So there's no
the
opportunity to
independent
second.
review will happen.
Yeah, we don't need to bring Diane.
It may or may not help to have Diane come to the next meeting, so I guess.
That's his call.
It's-
That's all.
Okay, we'll review the performance standards left for you to review and see if it makes sense to.
Okay. Do you have any other questions for us
No, we appreciate
before we
the time.
release you?
Yeah, and the board's willingness to set up a special meeting, we very much appreciate it.
I apologize for the late hour.
This is
Thank
late.
you, thank you for coming to
Sorry.
Thank you.
So we're not done yet.
Oh,
Thank you.
We're not done yet. We still have agenda items here, sadly.
We get to
You
go
guys
through-
can totally your agenda,
You'll sign.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
maybe. Public information and comment.
Christmas, I have.
Anyone?
Oh, oh.
All right, other business. I move that we postpone discussing findings of fact and written decisions on implementation plan until a meeting down in the future.
I'll second that.
Second that. All in favor? That's five. I just have a little thing I need to add. I apologize for the late time. I'd like to start off with an apology to the planning board and to the townspeople. Thank you, Dan. When I rejoined the planning board 4 years ago, the planning board chair had resigned many months before, so during that time, the remaining members were taking turns being chair, and no one wanted to be chair. I know Jerry and Jim were on the board at that time. Town staff was different from when I left the planning board before. We had a new administrator, new CEO, and the recording secretary had changed from Julie the treasurer to Carly our clerk. We had some tough applications and some with hard to work with applicants. I dare say that everyone was a bit frustrated and not sure in their roles. My goal then was to sort all that out, determine the current process, then help the team understand the process and the roles in the process. When I say team, I'm meaning the planning board, the CEO, and the clerk. The end result was to make the application process as easy as it can be for the applicants, the planning board members, and the town staff that support the process, which is the CEO and the clerk. We needed to work as a cohesive and cooperative team for that to happen. Applicant support comes from the clerk first. She's the first person applicants see when coming to talk to someone about applying. The CEO assists applicants to make sure applications are filled out properly and contain the items needed based on a checklist, etc. If this does not happen, applications are not approved and applicants are required to return the next month. Planning board support is done, the planning board is not permitted to speak with applicants outside the planning board meeting, so the CEO and clerk provide the board with information on the application before the meeting and provide vital roles in the application process. CEO's role is very important. They look at the site and location to verify data, check location against beginning with habitat maps, floodplain maps, the RPZ zone, and shoreland zones off the state provided maps. The clerk lets us know how many applications, who they are, what they are, where they are, sets up the meetings, and all the things that go with that. It's a lot of work. and takes the minutes. It's very vital that they become informative and accurate. Planning board picks up applications before the meeting to review and get familiar. Any obvious issues or omissions are reported to the CEO to relay back to the applicant before the meeting. My goal of helping us be a cooperative and cohesive team working together provided to be very difficult to accomplish. That is where I failed the town and the team. Being successful in reaching that goal requires town leadership, buy-in, and support. When I say town leadership, I'm referring to the town administrator and the board of selectmen. Because the CEO and clerk are not under the planning board's authority, the CEO and clerk work for the town administrator, and the town administrator works for the board of selectmen, who ultimately work for the townspeople. It's impossible to effect change without the town leadership behind it. There was a lot of support from Select Member Andreessen, who was our Board of Selectmen liaison for many years, attended almost every meeting until the Board of Selectmen liaison was eliminated, and she still comes to meetings as a citizen to stay informed. She knows planning board process and supports change, but she is only one person of 4 in the town leadership. For me, the last 4 years has been pretty tough and unpleasant to serve on this planning board. We've had tough applications and some very tough to work with applicants and not much backup or support from leadership. There was my unlawful termination without discussion or due process, my reinstatement, and then a second attempt to terminate me on the planning board that failed. There's been lack of direction or guidance from town leadership, lack of communication, personal conflicts, power struggles, and changes in process without involvement or notification of the planning board. I think the planning board members here would agree. I know the board members who are no longer here would. If we were all working together, this would not be so frustrating and painful. Despite all the challenges, I believe the team has moved forward a little in our quest to make the application process easier. With lack of written process, when we requested it from the town leadership 4 years ago, the team worked on and set our own. The town attorney stated in a workshop that the planning board had that authority as long as it was not conflict with state statute or the town ordinances, and revising applications can be done by a vote of the planning board and does not need approval from the board of selectmen. Planning board decided to add to all the applications the requirement that applicants discuss their application with the CEO prior to submitting an application. We thought this to be the most effective measure to prevent applications with missing information getting on the agenda, thus causing the planning board to delay approvals and tell applicants they need to return at next month's meeting with more info. The CEO and clerk agreed. The CEO has done a great job getting to know the ordinances since his hire and is a valuable part of this process. In the last couple weeks, I was made aware that the requirement for an applicant meeting with the CEO is no longer in place. From the administrator, she wrote, when application is received at the town office, it is given to Carly because she is the liaison to the planning board. CEO is notified as applications come in. If an applicant feels it would be helpful to meet with the CEO prior to the meeting, the CEO is available for that purpose. So it was just changed. Many attempts of mine to learn when the policy changed and why were unanswered from the clerk, the CEO, and the administrator. When I pointed out the clear violation of the application requirements and planning board decision to administrator, and I asked again for some clarity via email on 11/8, I was told, I provided the process and I expect that it be followed until further notice. And then any further discussion on this topic to be at publicly noticed meetings. So I went to the Board of Selectmen meeting last Thursday, just this last Thursday, and waited until the public comment information section. I asked again for clarity on the situation after giving a brief background on why the CEO helps the applicants and that it is a requirement in the application. The email containing my concerns that week also went to the Board of Selectmen, so they should have been aware. In those email correspondences, Town Attorney Daggett agreed that the requirement was there. At the meeting, I asked, when was the policy changed and why was it changed? The newly placed board chair was quick to tell me I was not on the agenda, so we weren't going to discuss it. She then allowed administrator to speak, saying that the policy has not changed. The CEO still works with folks before they go on the agenda, etc. Some of her comments did not match her words in the email. When I started to state the administrator's direction by reading the words in her email, board chair picked up the wooden gavel and banged it on the desk to terminate my dialogue, even though the administrator was allowed to speak on the topic. She then went on to say we were not going to discuss it. It needed research, the appropriate people needed to be there to weigh in on the topic, and that it may be a personnel matter which is not discussed in open session. I was not asking for a discussion, I was looking for two simple answers that still have not been given. One board member spoke up and said she thought I should be allowed to speak. The third had no comment. She may have been as shocked as I was as to the abrupt termination of my voice. No citizen should be denied their voice during the public comment and information portion of a public meeting. But what was worse is the opposing party was allowed to speak. I was so shocked and angry that I did not think to ask the Board of Selectmen as a body to vote on my ability to be heard. I wish I had. I have endured enough abuse, frustration, and games. I'm no longer willing to beat my head against the wall, trying to fix the dysfunction issues when it is clear to me that having a cohesive, cooperative team is not important to the majority of town leadership. So I've decided to step down from the planning board. Before I left the meeting last Thursday, I gave my resignation to the Board of Selectmen, stating that this is my last meeting as a member of the planning board tonight. The board is here to serve and to support our community, our residents, and our business owners. To make the tough process of property development or expansion, whether residential or commercial, as easy as possible. I wish you well, I wish you luck as you move forward to that end, because our residents and business owners deserve that. And I do apologize, but I am done. So the planning board moving forward, I know we now have this extra meeting. Jamie now becomes acting chair after tonight, and then at the next meeting, just process-wise, you guys will need to vote for a chair and a vice chair again. It doesn't automatically roll over, it has to be voted again. And Jamie, if the board wants any of my ordinance notes or Word documents or anything like that, I'm available to you. Questions for me from the board? All right, hearing none, you want to do the September meeting minutes, or do we want to push them off?
I guess I'd like to also bring up other business as well. So I guess first off, thank you, Darlene, for your notes and your very concise discussion here tonight, and pointing out the issues here with the discussions back and forth with the town, with the frustrations that have been had over the past several months. I just started on this board in January of last year, so I'm less than a year in now. And in that short period of time, I've also seen the same things happen. I've experienced the same frustrations. I've seen the frustrations that you've gone through between you and the town, and I don't see any clear leadership or direction from the town in how we're supposed to proceed forward. I just received, as you mentioned, those same procedures a week ago. Not knowing those procedures for 11 months being here, I feel that I've been wronged by the town by not being provided those procedures. And I will say that you've done a fantastic job as the chair of this board. And I do a lot of these presentations. I deal with a lot of boards across the state, New England, and I don't see the same disconnect between the town and the board. And something simple as communication, which is helpful at all levels, just does not happen here. And I guess with that, I am also resigning my position on the planning board. I'll be submitting my formal resignation letter tomorrow. And thank you all.
Okay. All right. Appreciate your expertise on the board.
It's too bad I couldn't move on.
It's terribly unfortunate that we're going through this.
It is.
Next is the approval of the minutes.
So is your resignation effective
Mine,
right this second, or is this
at the end of the meeting,
the end of this meeting?
I
Is that
gave
the
my
same with you?
resignation last Thursday that it would be at the end of this meeting. And they formally accepted it and voted on it, so it's at the end of this meeting.
Well, I do realize
It's
that,
10:20 now.
I too have experienced these frustrations. And I guess I've chosen to stick it out on the board, but not as chair. Being chair, you do get the brunt of the interaction with selectmen and so forth. So, it's not something I wanted, and I still don't want it. And, you know, for that reason, I just don't want that, interaction. I'll just leave it at that, I guess. So, I'm not happy to hear that you're leaving, Darlene.
Thank you. I'm not happy to leave.
You know, it's, we have, you know, we've had our stumbling down the path and, you know, trying to get things aligned and so forth. And I'm very disappointed that you are leaving too, Mr. Wallace. So, you know, I would like to hope that you might reconsider, and we're having only 9 months on the board, and, you know, I think things are gonna get better. That's always my objective, always my thought, but
I do hope that it does.
I hope it does too. And what we do need is support, you know, from the Board of Selectmen, so that we can do our job. I think that's what anybody wants to do. It's just enough support so we can do our job and do it effectively, help people through the process, and it's not always that simple. I have great hopes for an ordinance that's a lot easier to interpret and to read. And there's a lot of work involved in this. And so when you don't have a lot of support, you know, it makes it doesn't make you want to work that much harder, I guess. So,
It's a really hard job with support.
yes, it is.
You left a term out, it's a voluntary position.
Right.
I mean, you need
it's
to
a very
respect the
hard-
hours that you guys have put in on this.
Yeah, it's a very hard volunteer position with support.
So,
So, yeah,
I understand. But I don't think you're gonna go away completely. Not if I know you. Yeah, I hope you don't. So. Sorry to hear that from both of you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Any,
I think we can vote at our next meeting. We continue the meeting. We can certainly continue it by voting on the minutes and all that stuff.
are you going to do the minutes next?
Is that true?
Sure, you can postpone voting on the minutes
Yeah.
till next meeting.
Make a motion.
I move that we continue all things necessary at our next meeting, and that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?